Welcome everyone to this explainer. Let's dive right into this masterclass on a massive paradigm shift in interoperability, one that completely rewired institutional finance back in 2026. As a lead blockchain consultant and university professor in this space, I constantly tell my students and my clients that if you really want to understand the future of finance, you can't just look at the surface, you have to look at the underlying plumbing. And today, we're analyzing a monumental turning point, the exact moment when the industry looked at experimental, fragile bridging architectures and decisively replaced them with resilient, multi-layered institutional standards.
To really grasp the sheer scale of this shift, we have to anchor our discussion on one massive event. We are talking about the great migration of over $4 billion in institutional assets. And listen, this wasn't some slow, gradual, let's see how it goes transition. No way. This was a sudden, highly coordinated movement by major industry heavyweights, names like Lombard, Solv Protocol, RWA, and KelpDAO. They picked up and moved entirely away from legacy systems to embrace a unified, mathematically secure cross-chain standard. Take a look at how incredibly fast this happened. This rapid timeline shows us how a devastating bridge exploit acted as the ultimate wake-up call. It catalyzed top-tier protocols to immediately abandon their old infrastructure for systems built around defense in-depth security. In April 2026, the absolute vulnerability of older bridging models was exposed for the world to see. And then, almost simultaneously, the new standard got stamped and validated by top-tier traditional auditing, which triggered a massive billions of dollars exodus in May.
So, here is our syllabus for today's analysis. We're going to cover the 2026 macro environment, followed by the $292 million hack that started it all. Then we'll put CCIP and LayerZero v2 head-to-head. After that, we'll get into burn and mint compliance, unpack CCIP's 3 security pillars, and wrap up with some real-world institutional use cases. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. The 2026 macro environment, and what I like to call the trust premium.
By 2026, tokenized real-world assets, or RWAs, had exploded into a staggering $35 to $45 billion market cap. That is a massive number. And this explosive growth legitimized the wholesale adoption of zero-knowledge and identity-centric architectures. Essentially, these are systems that allow you to mathematically prove who you are and that you're following the rules without broadcasting your private data to the entire public ledger. We aren't talking about experimental crypto tokens anymore. We are talking about elite hedge funds and asset managers moving highly regulated securities, real estate, and bonds entirely on-chain.
The core value proposition here is all about compressing what we call the opaque liquidity discount that usually applies to private market assets. We are completely obliterating legacy clearance timelines. The old world where you had to wait 3 to 5 agonizing days for a simple trade to settle? Gone. Instead, we get continuous, real-time net asset value, or NAV updates. It's a fundamental shift from saying, hey, trust our off-chain custodian, to verify this cryptographically signed API feed right now in real time.
Moving on to Section 2, let's look at the inciting incident, the $292 million hack catalyst. Progress usually requires a little pain, right? Well, this was a lot of pain.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this $292 million exploit on the KelpDAO bridge definitively ended the whole move fast and break things era of bridge design. The perpetrators, linked to North Korea's Lazarus Group, exploited systemic weaknesses and customizable settings within the older LayerZero infrastructure and its RPC endpoints. And the fallout? It was immediate. Protocols like RWA, which is an on-chain reinsurance platform with $475 million in total value locked, and Lombard, which was migrating over $1 billion in assets, realized they couldn't afford to play games. They needed absolute mathematical certainty alongside institutional-grade security.
Which brings us to Section 3, CCIP versus LayerZero v2. Let's break down the technology pillar. Now, LayerZero v2 offered incredible speed in a highly modular, customizable framework using decentralized verifier networks. But here's the catch. Institutions quickly realized that if your security is entirely configurable, it means you can accidentally configure it incorrectly. It's kind of like being told to build your own bank vault from scratch. CCIP, on the flip side, took a completely different approach. It relies on decentralized Oracle networks and offers non-negotiable, hard-coded security redundancy. It's defense in depth right out of the box, using networks that have successfully secured decentralized finance for years.
I really want you to remember this concept, the Risk Management Network, or RMN.
This is a completely independent secondary network that asynchronously monitors every single cross-chain transaction. If any anomaly or transaction spoofing is detected, boom, it acts as the ultimate circuit breaker and automatically pauses the bridge to prevent a drain. And what's truly brilliant about it from an engineering perspective is that it's written in a totally different programming language, Rust. Why? So that a single software bug literally cannot take down both systems at once. It's an autonomous, unblinking auditor.
Okay, Section 4, Burn and Mint Compliance. Let's explore where the technology intersects directly with legal and regulatory dimensions. Listen, when you are a CTO managing a regulated asset, code is not law. Law is law. Institutional strategy moved aggressively away from the old lock and mint model that relied on wrapped assets. Wrapped assets are basically digital IOUs, and they create massive legal ambiguity. If the bridge holding the original asset fails, you face catastrophic double-spend liability. Instead, institutions rally behind native burn and mint protocols. The token is mathematically destroyed on one chain and natively reissued on another. This eliminates wrapping risks, keeps global liquidity unified, and legally unambiguous.
This quote hits the nail on the head. Modern infrastructure doesn't just move tokens, it satisfies strict transparency and disclosure mandates required by frameworks like the SEC, European MiCA, the UK's Electronic Trade Documents Act, and Singapore's MAS guidelines. Because you can use programmable payloads, you can literally hard-code jurisdiction rules directly into the asset's transfer logic. For instance, you can program it so the asset physically cannot be minted on the destination chain unless the receiver has actively passed their KYC checks.
And to protect those transfers, we have circuit breakers. These are smart contracts governed by Oracle as a Service SLAs, and they are absolutely crucial for mitigating flash exploits and something called the reality gap, which is the temporal latency between an off-chain liquidation and its confirmed on-chain state. Using tools like Proof of Reserve, a smart contract will automatically reject a minting request if the Oracle detects that the off-chain bank balances are insufficient to back those new tokens. It's a real-time safety net. Let's dive into Section 5 and formally lay out CCIP's 3 security pillars.
To securely execute these legally binding transfers, Chainlink CCIP rests on 3 battle-tested pillars. First, you have the independent risk management network acting as that fail-safe circuit breaker we just talked about. Second, you have 16 of the world's most reliable, decentralized node operators executing via threshold cryptography, completely avoiding the fragility of lightweight clients or simple multisigs. And third, the Deloitte SOC 2 Type 2 certification. Guys, this was a massive milestone. Having a Big Four auditor certify operational effectiveness over a sustained 6-month period satisfied the incredibly strict procurement demands of global custodian banks and sovereign entities.
Let's bring this all together in Section 6. We'll look at some institutional use cases and validate this shift with actual numbers. What we are witnessing here is the death of the manual audit. Web3 infrastructure is replacing periodic reactive checks with continuous algorithmic solvency guarantees. In plain English, the math checks itself in real time. By utilizing zero-knowledge KYC protocols, institutions can prove they are fully compliant without exposing raw, sensitive, personally identifiable information to the public ledger. Just look at the sheer economic impact here with the Apex Yield Fund. We're talking about onboarding and KYC costs plummeting from $150,000 for an annual audit down to $2.50 for automated verification. That's practically the cost of a cup of coffee. Settlement delays vanish from up to 5 days to under 3 minutes. This isn't just a minor iterative upgrade, it's an absolute game changer. It's a fundamental rewiring of capital market efficiency, maintaining a greater than 95% efficiency ratio over legacy processes. To make it concrete, look at this step-by-step workflow of an auto-rebalancing real estate fund. It shows exactly how fragmented liquidity gets unified and automated. Step 1. Property software updates the rental income. Step 2, a decentralized Oracle network immediately verifies those bank balances. Step 3, the smart contract calculates the real-time NAV. And Step 4, the token exchange rate dynamically updates for all the holders. CCIP allows the tokens and the data instructions to move in a single atomic transaction. You lock a tokenized bond on Ethereum, CCIP routes it through the validating network, and you instantly receive stablecoin credit on Avalanche. Completely compliant, entirely secure. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought.
The Great Migration of 2026 proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the future of finance is compliant, it's cross-chain, and it is uncompromisingly strict on security. The architectural blueprint is already here, and it's built on verifiable, cryptographic trust, not manual guesswork. So as continuous auditing becomes the new non-negotiable gold standard, where does your infrastructure stand? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you all next time.